Hey everyone, it's Ivan with kitbadger.com, here to bring another gear review. Today, we're talking shoes, these right here, which are the Trailhead by Lems version 2. Backing up a step, my first introduction to Lems was actually the Primal 2. A light, minimalist, like really light minimalist shoe with a wide toe box. For me, that's really important. My feet are wide. Parents didn't bind my feet or anything like that as a kid. And yeah, like I think there's a lot of value that comes with minimalist shoes. If you ever get the chance, there's a great book called Born to Run. Fun read, it's actually an enjoyable story, goes into kind of the importance of it. But Primal 2 from Lems, kind of my first step into it. From there, I ended up trying some of their boulder boots. Again, same kind of thing, like minimalist, super flexible, and yeah, really stoked on these. Put tons and tons of miles on these, especially these guys in the backcountry. And eventually though, they came out with their Trailhead, and I was like, all right, let's give this thing a go. And then in 2019, when Lems came out with their version 1 of the Trailhead, I picked some of these up. I actually wore them for the first time down in Mississippi, 2019, at the Tactical Games, then wore them again, I believe, Texas later that year, and put in time with them. For me, these were absolutely massive departure from what I was used to, like lightweight, small, minimalist shoe. These are way stiffer, and as far as the toe box, really narrow. It honestly felt like I was putting on a regular like tennis shoe. And it kind of felt like this was Lems reaching to get just a bigger part of like the normal shoe market, rather than just doubling down on making shoes minimalist style with a wide toe box. But I wore them. They absolutely pretty durable to include the bottom. Put a bunch of miles on them. And eventually, I was pretty excited when they ended up coming out with the version 2 of the Trailhead. If you follow my content, you probably saw the first time I pulled these out of the box. It was actually at the South Carolina Tactical Games 2019. Pulled these things straight out of the box, put them on, and went and competed. Since then, worn them a lot, done all the things in them. On the one hand, I've done just honestly in that first Tactical Games, climbing through tunnels, climbing up ropes, running up and down stairs, all that stuff. They definitely did a good job for me. Way better for me personally than the version 1. The version 2, it has more flexibility than the version 1, which kind of going back to those roots. Wider toe box, super important. Well, largely the construction stayed the same. Microfiber upper, air mesh. Just kind of those nuanced differences as far as the width and yeah, a little more flexibility. That for me was definitely a big step back in the right direction with respect to the Trailheads. I still think these are absolutely a departure from kind of the roots of true minimalist shoes. These for me, coming from the Primal 2s, still feel relatively heavy. I will say there's certain places that it does play itself out as a benefit. One, if you're going over like really sharp, jagged rocks, you won't feel them through this. You will through the Primal 2s. And depending on how accustomed your feet are to that, that may be a good or a bad thing, depending. I will say one thing I've appreciated with durability on these guys versus the Primal 2s, or even the boulder boots for that matter, is this sole. Relatively aggressive, and doing rope climbs in the gym, depending on shoes, you will burn them out really fast. The way you basically climb the rope, latch this thing on, rope coming over or coming through here, and if this is not durable, it'll just get chewed up really fast in the gym. There's one thing I don't really care for with the Trailhead, both version 1 as well as version 2, is the heel cup. Part of it is probably just me, sample size of 1. I live in a house with 2 young boys. with that, we have a policy, pretty much take our shoes off as soon as you come inside. Otherwise, mud, everything else tracked in everywhere. Don't want that. So I rarely tie my shoes. I will get them tied and I will go ahead and slip them on, slip them off. Don't really want to mess with it. Because of that, I found on both of these, the heels end up breaking down. And yeah, like there's something kind of rigid in there, and ultimately it ends up breaking down. Probably because I'm doing it wrong, but that's what I do. And so I'd much rather have something that I can just slip on and off, like the Primal 2s. That has been a thing for me. Big picture, where do I think these fit in? The Trail 1 or Trailhead version 1, they're a shoe, like hands down. I would not call them a minimalist shoe really on any level. These, I think they get a lot closer to the mark with respect to actually being a minimalist shoe. Having some flexibility, a wider toe box, and I think they're good to that end. Not still much of a minimalist shoe. I think they're definitely a step in the right direction, and where these come in my mind, is people that are kind of transitioning away from walking around with like marshmallows on your feet, like giant tennis shoes, transitioning towards minimalist shoes. Because if you were to put on a pair of Primal 2s, like it would probably wreck you. Like it's a matter of your body getting used to walking the way it's supposed to naturally walk. And I think these honestly are basically a good stepping stone to that end. If you want to pick some up, you can do so over on Lems' website. As far as colors, this is their Onyx. This right here is their Sage. Pretty much all the color paths from the original version 1 they have in the version 2. And I believe there's about 3 other ones. To include, occasionally they'll do short runs, one of which is kind of like an 80s theme. Some pretty bright colors, which is pretty cool, depending on what you're into. If you pick some up, let me know how they do for you. And if you want to kind of have a little inside track on what's going on over at Kit Badger, to include exclusive access to videos before they're released, go sign up over on my website. Pretty much once a week, I will put out a little sit rep email. It'll say, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's coming up, and there'll be a link to a video that hasn't been posted yet. If you want to get those emails, go over to kitbadger.com, down at the bottom, name, email, and you'll get an email once a week, little sit rep. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.